Hey guys, welcome to the chat. This is the Saturday Keto Chat. Sorry for no music this Saturday because I can't seem to get my audio thing working. But next week I'm going to have a mixer set up in here and we can do this up proper. I'll have a microphone, whole bit. But this week we're just kind of going commando, so to speak. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Today's Saturday Keto Chat is sponsored by... Ain't nobody sponsoring me. So we are here. Welcome to Vengeance was first in here. We got Jackson's 45 and Todd. We're going to have Twitch on the left side over here. And then over on the right side over there is the YouTube chat. So if you are on YouTube or on Twitch, you can very easily join us in this chat and ask any kind of questions about ketogenic nutrition, about low carb, high fat, about inflammation, health in general. I just saw a very interesting talk today with Dr. Ken Berry and his wife Misha with talking about thyroid disorders, and that was very enlightening. Very, very, very happy to have watched that, and I hope to somehow figure out a way to get Dr. Berry on the chat here on a Saturday with us. That would be fantastic. I know you guys would love this guy. Anyway, today our subject is inflammation. I know we talk about weight loss a lot, and we talk about like diabetes and autoimmune disorders and all of that stuff. And we talk about heart disease a lot, but I wanted to address issues regarding inflammation specifically. And I know that we do talk talk around inflammation as a symptom, but a lot of times the disorder is inflammation, and the other things that we call the diseases are actually the symptom of inflammation. So, what causes inflammation? A lot of people ask me that. What causes inflammation? I tell them, they say, well, all that saturated fat in your diet is going to cause you some heart disease. I say, well, that's not what causes heart disease. They say, well, what causes heart disease? And I say, inflammation causes heart disease. And they go, well, what causes inflammation? I say, well, a number of things. There are, a number of major things that cause it. So we'll start with the easy ones. Smoking. Do you smoke? Yes? Well, then you're probably inflamed. So you could get rid of that factor of inflammation by quitting smoking. Now, I don't say that that's an easy thing to do, but it is one of the things that's easiest to eliminate from your issues. Let's say you're trying to deduce what's causing the problem. Well, here's one of the things that's very easily causing you inflammation. Jackson's 45 says, Song of the Day. No Dispento de Valor by Domenico. An Italian language #1 hit in America. The only foreign language song wins Song of the Year at the Grammys. Okay. I'm not familiar with that song. Well, maybe I am familiar with that song. I'm just not familiar with the artist or the title, so that wouldn't be unusual. Anyway, you're welcome to join in this chat and questions, and hopefully I have some answers for you. So smoking would be like the first things that you come across with the inflammation issues. Another one would be stress. That's an easy one to diagnose. I mean, do you feel stressed out? Do you have a very stressful job? Do you have PTSD, for instance? These things are, do you have a terrible marriage, for instance? Or these kind of things can be adding to your stress, and this stress is definitely adding to your inflammation. So if there's a way that you can deal with stress, personally, I'm a Christian. I deal with stress in the way that that Christians typically do, and that is, relying on the Lord and putting my faith in the Lord, and that may not be for you, but that is my approach. And everybody has their way of dealing with stress, and some people self-medicate, and that may be giving you other complications. Then there's you don't smoke at all, but Todd says, I don't smoke at all, but I've gotten drunk one night with a friend and then called in sick to work the next day. So you stressed out your liver, and then you stressed yourself out because you stressed your boss out, and then your boss probably stressed you out the next day. I think religion is one of the most controversial subjects in the entire world. It's possibly true, but I don't let that stress me out, Jackson. So I happen to be a Christian. I don't think that everybody that is in my field of endeavor is a Christian, but I know that a number of us are. It's one of my ways of dealing with stress, and that's the primary way that I deal with stress. Should be the first and only way that I deal with stress, if you ask me, but, I guess I've been called a hypocrite once or twice. Anyway, so there's stress, there's smoking. We've kind of gone over those briefly. And then there's another thing called insulin. And insulin in your blood constantly is going to cause you inflammation. And what is the thing that causes insulin to be in the blood all the time? That is sugar. So glucose in the blood causes insulin to be in the blood. These are the top three things that are causing you stress, that are causing your body inflammation: smoking, stress, and insulin. And in fact, stress causes the stress hormone cortisol to be released. And when cortisol is released, the only way the body can counteract stress is with insulin. So again, we're back to insulin. And insulin causes stress, and insulin causes inflammation. So inflammation is a trigger for a number of things. And I was just at a lunch today with a friend of mine, and he was talking about, well, you don't treat, if somebody has psoriasis, you don't treat them like they're diabetic. Well, actually, it seems to me that ketogenic nutrition seems to be a remedy for both inflammation, which triggers autoimmune disorders, and diabetes. And psoriasis happens to be an autoimmune disorder, so technically speaking, you would treat psoriasis the same way you treat diabetes. Is keto and diabetes the same thing? No. Keto is basically short for ketosis or ketogenesis. And ketogenesis is basically the body's natural process of creating ketones by burning fat for fuel. So keto is basically that. It's just a natural process. Now, diabetes, on the other hand, is a very unnatural thing. It is a condition caused by insulin resistance, which is caused by an unnatural, high elevated level of insulin for extended periods of time. Your body becomes resistant to the insulin, and then you become inflamed and eventually diabetic as your blood sugar goes out of control because your body no longer responds to the insulin. That is, it no longer answers the call when insulin says, hey, let's store all this blood glucose in the cells and use it for energy. No, your body can't do that when it's insulin resistant. Ketogenesis. Wasn't Phil Collins in that band? That's funny. Yes, with Mike Rutherford. Yeah. Nice. So diabetes is insulin resistance, which is basically the thing that keeps, one of the things that keeps ketogenesis from happening is insulin resistance. But if you induce ketogenesis by eliminating insulin out of the equation, and the way you get insulin out of the equation is by getting carbohydrate or blood glucose. You get blood glucose out of the equation, by eliminating carbohydrate from the diet. It's a simple thing. It's not easy to do for some people, but the science of it is relatively simple. I need to figure out a way to keep my screensaver from happening while XSplit is broadcasting. So somebody tell me how to do that. Also tell me how to get my direct sound, my default sound device, playing out through the streams, because I can't seem to get that to work. What causes gas? A lot of things cause gas. So most of the time it has to do with you not having the proper gut bacteria to handle the food that you're eating. A lot of times the remedy for that is by eating more of it over an extended period of time, then your body gets used to it. So for instance, a lot of Mexicans who eat Mexican food on a daily basis do not experience gas when they eat a lot of beans because, well, their body has all the enzymes and the proper gut flora to handle what they're putting into it. For those of us that eat Mexican food on occasion or almost never, me being pretty much never, if I were to eat beans, which I haven't eaten in years, then I probably would have a gaseous event. Also, if you take in some chemicals that disturb your gut flora, like some artificial sweeteners do, some sugar alcohols, and some additives to food tend to affect the gut flora. Anytime you affect the gut flora or throw something in there that the gut flora is not equipped to handle, you're going to have an anaerobic condition. You're going to have gases that appear there. And Mexican food causes you gas and even stomach aches and diarrhea. Huge bummer. Well, it probably would for me because I just don't eat it that much. But I do eat spicy food a lot. And if you guys have watched my YouTube video on the BroBryce Cooks channel of the fathead chalupas, we do have that on occasion. It doesn't bother me at all. But then it doesn't have beans in it. It also doesn't have rice in it, which those two are kind of staples. Red beans and rice and refried beans, as well as wheat and corn tortillas. They're very common in Mexican culture foods, but I don't eat those things. So I make things with stuff like coconut flour and psyllium husk and almond flour and cheese and meat and spices. So if we get to the bottom of inflammation, what inflammation really is doing is it causes all kinds of, like if you've ever had like a red patch on your skin where you burned yourself, for instance, that is inflammation. And inflammation is basically the body responding to a condition. It's basically calling a 4-alarm fire, and sending all the white blood cells to that place, and sending red blood cells there to ship repair materials to the site, white blood cells to attack whatever's infecting or something like that, intruders. And if you have an autoimmune disorder, that's typically like your body's response to an inflammation event. So, for instance, if you've ever had a sliver in your hand and you didn't get it out right away, chances are it turned red, it festered up, and eventually the body would try to push it out. It's a foreign object, and all of that pus that surrounds it, stuff that is your white blood cells attacking it. And if it gets infected, it's created an anaerobic condition in there, and the gases are building up. That's why it smells funny, and it will sometimes push that out of there, or at least it'll try to push that out of there. Sometimes you have to lance it and pull it out. That's an example of inflammation doing things the right way. And in some cases, you can have an autoimmune disorder where your immune system attacks things that it thinks are foreign bodies or intruders or infections, when in actuality it's just part of you. So, for instance, psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder of the skin where something about the skin or something on the skin or in the skin is causing the skin to be attacked by the white blood cells. And the white blood cells attack it. It gets scaly, it gets dry, and it gets deprived of all of its proper nutrients, and you end up with dry, scaly patches on your skin. What is your opinion on flu vaccines, Bryce? I got one a few weeks ago, and but they need to be stronger. Well, I don't get flu vaccines, and I don't want to be classified as one of those anti-vaxxers, but I get sick when I get the flu, so I don't get the flu because I don't get the flu vaccine. And my immune system seems to be coping with that pretty well. I don't want to be classified as a conspiracy kook or anything, and I know that a lot of people who mention anything about not getting vaccines is somehow automatically labeled something, and I'm not sure how we can't come to an understanding with one another, but I don't know that vaccines are always effective or if they're the right approach to everything. Just my way of thinking. I think that Mark Dice and Alex Jones could be taken a little more seriously if they didn't act so much like cartoon characters. I think if you took a more realistic approach to things, then you might be taken a little more seriously. And I think that some of the things that both of them talk about are very real and very serious, but the way that they approach things is sometimes it's very hard to take seriously. So, you know how I am. Like I've talked about, like last week we talked about fat first versus fat phobia, and my feeling on that is, you can be of either camp, or you can be somewhere in the middle where you say, well, hey, there's really no need to fear fat at all, but there's also no need to force feed fat all the time just to so-called get your fats in. I think that that's a very moderate approach. I think it's a way to keep things realistic too. So I think that some of those approaches, you can become like Ken Berry was talking about, the keto police. You can become the keto police and not be very effective for either party. Off-topic questions. What if you owned a DeLorean time machine? If I owned a DeLorean time machine, I would go back to a time when we could eat foods when they were in season instead of just having everything be in season all the time. And I would teach ketogenic nutrition right around the time Ansel Keys was coming on the scene. I would probably try to get a biochemistry degree and then try to find a public platform to humiliate him on. So no, it's not off topic. See how I spun that, Vengeance? Vengeance is our faithful moderator for the last few weeks, and I want to thank Vengeance publicly in this forum for keeping trolls at bay when and if they may come. He helped put a stop to an online auction of me a few weeks back. That was, in hindsight, that was funny, but it was very distracting, and I'm glad to keep the distractions to a minimum thanks to Vengeance taking care of business out there on the interwebs. So, since I had an opportunity when I was taking a medical exam recently with a doctor who was asking me questions, because I answer questions with peculiar answers sometimes because my medical record is pretty crazy. I've had a lot of different kind of conditions ranging from chronic inflammation to actual injuries and sicknesses that I've had. Ah, yes. Todd. Hey Bryce, I take Flomax for my enlarged prostate. Is there anything out there I could try that's natural and don't have harsh side effects? You know, I have dealt with some of these issues myself. So I speak from my experience, not from a position of being able to give medical advice. As I said, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice, but what I can do is share my experience. And my experience has been, I was prescribed Flomax a few years back for urinary incontinence issues, and I felt that some of those issues might have been having to do with at one point when I had to have a catheter put in, and that gave me some problems, some lasting problems. One of the naturopathic techniques that I use every once in a while is when I have symptoms, I take acai berry gel caps, and I don't take the powdered because the powdered capsules, they have rice powder in them. No, I don't think it's too personal. I share my experience because it's a big thing. So I'll come back to that, Jackson. I share my experience because it might be useful for somebody else. And the other thing that I take is on occasion, and I take it when I have symptoms. And when I don't have symptoms, I don't take it because I don't feel the need to consistently pop pills all the time just to keep something at bay if I'm not having an issue with it. And especially if my diet ends up just controlling it over time, all the better, right? And so this thing has happened less and less, I think, because of the diet and because of the lack of inflammation. But on occasion, I still have some episodes. So when I have episodes, like if I have a migraine, I take Excedrin. If I, you know, if I have a symptom, I'm going to try to treat it. So the other thing that I take is a prostate formula that's a saw palmetto type of supplement. I get it from Costco. This particular one has something called Cran Max in it. It's a cranberry supplement as well. So I will take acai berry and some of this. I'll probably take it for like a week. You know, some in the morning, some in the evening. And it's this prostate formula that I get from Costco. It's almost always available at Costco. It's in a kind of a green bottle. And maybe I'll put a link to it in the description later if I can track it down. But anyway, so the powder and not the tablets for the acai berry. No, with the acai berry, I use the gel caps. The capsules, and I'm talking about the gel caps, they're like a kind of a rubbery, black, purplish looking thing. The acai berry capsules are the ones where they've taken the rice powder and the acai berry, and the first ingredient is rice powder. It's not acai berry. So you're getting something that has a high glycemic index in there. It's potentially going to raise your blood sugar. So use the gel caps instead. They're usually encapsulated in an oil, so it's pretty easily absorbed. Works pretty good. I take it, you know, on days when I'm having an episode, I take it in the morning, I take it in the evening. As a result of this, I have not had to take any of the pharmaceuticals for this urinary tract issue and the prostate issue, which is part of it, like it or not, it's part of the urinary tract. I've not had to take any of that for years. So thankfully, I think it's been at least a couple years. So the question that that Jackson's 45 is asking is, how old are you, Bryce? I'm happy to say I am 47 years old. And I would like to know, since everybody says that as you get older, your metabolism slows down, I would like to know when that is, because I got down to my goal weight after 40. I actually lost 117 pounds from the time I was 43 to 47. So I'd like to know when your metabolism slows down. My mother-in-law lost over 100 pounds. She's 70 years old. So I'd like to know when your metabolism slows down. Yeah, I do. Jackson, you can use the Parmesan cheese or Asiago cheese, melt it into heavy cream for your Alfredo sauce. Add some Italian seasoning to that. And for your fettuccine, you can use miracle noodles, or you can use a spiralizer and take zucchini and make zoodles out of it. So you can get a spiralizer at like Ross for next to nothing. These like discount liquidator stores, they sell these little spiralizers for like $10 or something. I think that's what we paid for ours. Comes with like 3 different blades. You can make fettuccine noodles. You can make spaghetti noodles with it and spiralize some zucchini. And much more satisfying and healthy for you than regular pasta. And the Alfredo doesn't have to have starches in it. If you need it to be thicker, just either add more cheese or maybe throw in some xanthan gum, or just cook it down more. It'll thicken up. Heavy cream naturally has a tendency to thicken up. But do it on a lower heat so that you don't overcook the cream. Easy peasy to make fettuccine Alfredo. Honestly, it's easy. It may take a little while, but it's easier than making noodles from scratch, and it's way healthier for you than a traditional Alfredo sauce, which is usually starch based. How do you feel about the stuff Tony reviews on his channel? I think I'm quite vocal both on Tony's channel and mine about the food that Tony eats. And I've talked to him in person. Of course, you know, we're brothers from another mother, so I think that some of the foods that he reviews are incredibly unhealthy, and I think that some of the other food reviewers really show that out, the fruit of that eventually. I mean, you look back on some of the other food reviewers and look at their old videos versus their new videos. What did they look like in their old videos versus what they look like in their new videos? And I'm not just talking about weight issues. If you look at their faces, do they look inflamed? Do they look like if they had a different expression on their face, like they could be mad, right? This could be a sign of inflammation. Now, I'm not, this seems like just on the surface judgment, but this is a part of why I don't watch those channels typically. I watch Tony's channel because he's a really good friend of mine. I care about him and I love him, and I love you guys. Like the fact that, you know, you guys, at least the 3 of you, came from Tony's channel, and you know, we've talked over there quite a bit, and it's a lot of fun over there. The environment that he creates over there is amazing, but the food is terrible for you. There's no way to get around it. Tony's a sugar addict. You know, I don't know that he eats as much sugar as he used to, but Tony had moved his live streams to Mondays. Now, right, I know, and I am working on a lot of Mondays, as I'm working this Monday, so I haven't been able to join him on Mondays, and I didn't know until last Saturday. So I guess I'm just not paying close enough attention. Yeah, Joey's World Tour is a you know, that's one to look at. I think that, you know, looking at the surface is one thing. I think that it would be interesting to see some of Tony's old lab work versus his new lab work, and just take a look at that and see what it says. I mean, it may show an indication of inflammation, or anybody's lab work, you know, that's doing food reviewers. Let's look at some of their old lab work and their new lab work, and let's see what direction it's going. And it's not, you know, I'm not speaking of Tony specifically, but you know, Tony doesn't appear to have gained a whole bunch of weight from eating this way. But I can honestly say that I can very confidently say that the food that he reviews typically is not something that's going to help him with his health. Yeah, you know, on a lot of the days when I stream, it's actually a work day for me. Today, I happen to have today off, but last week I worked, and I think I worked from 7 to 12 or 5 to 12 or something. And oh, we're getting notifications all over our chat. Let's get that out of there. Somehow I got to figure out how not to get that. I need to turn off those notifications. I love having those notifications except for when the chat is up. I need to get a different gadget for the Twitch chat. Sorry, I got something itch in my throat just now. I had to drink my potassium and salt water. Get some of that in. So we're at 4:34. I just want to let you guys know we are going to do a book giveaway. I already gave away the 30-day low-carb diet solution to Jenna last week. And this week I have a new Atkins for New You by Dr. Eric Westman, Stephen Finney, and Jeff Volek. It's a great book that has turned many, many lives around. I will say that they do kind of endorse the Atkins products. And I'm not a big fan of the Atkins products, but I know that Eric Westman does not work for Atkins. He merely wrote this book with them. So, you know, I remember when T. Colin Campbell debated him, Atkins versus China study. Look that up on Google. And T. Colin Campbell called him out for having written this book for the Atkins organization. And he did clarify, I don't work for Atkins. Anyway, New Atkins for New You workbook. This is a workbook by Colette Hemowitz. And this is just basically a journaling tool to keep track of what you're eating and how you feel about it. You can get that book. You can get the hardback or the paperback of Wheat Belly. This is a book by William Davis, MD, that will tell you all the many, 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 many reasons why you should not be eating wheat. No, it's okay, Vengeance. I just appreciate you guys being here. I remember that shut up you face. Right on. Yeah, my dad used to quote that song all the time. Shut up you face, that I break you a mouth. Anyway, so we will be giving away those books in just a little bit. But to talk a little more about the inflammation, you know, when I was talking with this doctor at this medical exam, he was saying, you know, I've heard of using keto for weight loss. You know, it's right now it's all up in the news. It's, you know, it's on all the talk shows. They're saying, you know, Holly Berry did this or Kim Kardashian did that. And it's new to him, right? This doctor, that there's somebody out there that's using it to what appears to be just curing all kinds of things. And I said, well, I don't really know about that, but what I do know is that autoimmune disorders, for instance, that's a for instance, and autoimmune disorders are like a big category of disease, like a whole bunch of diseases that we are treating as if they are the major cause of a problem. We're treating them like, for instance, psoriasis. We treat that like, you know, that's the disease. Well, what if psoriasis is just an autoimmune response to inflammation? If you got rid of the inflammation, what happens? So I said, you know, almost all autoimmune disorders are triggered by inflammation. So while you may not be able to reverse the actual disorder itself, if you got rid of the inflammation, what if you could get rid of all of the symptoms of most autoimmune disorders? Aren't you improving that person's life tremendously? Aren't you still effectively reducing or eliminating the disease, so to speak, effectively, at least in the application phase of it? And if that person doesn't have to suffer with that disease, maybe the disease won't be the thing that kills them. You know, maybe the disease will sit back and mind its own business for the rest of their happy life until a piano falls on them. Does anyone here like Kool-Aid? I used to love Kool-Aid, man. I used to live off Kool-Aid. I did not know how to live without Kool-Aid. But I remember, you know, we was po, and so we couldn't afford juice most of the time. And Kool-Aid, when I was a little kid, it was like 5 cents a pack, and then it was 10 cents a pack. And I remember my mom would make it with 1 cup of sugar, you know, 2 quarts of Kool-Aid with 1 quart of sugar. Now, to me, as a kid, that was the sweetest thing that we ever ate, because my parents did not force feed us tons of sugar. However, we did eat lots of bread, which turns to sugar as fast or faster than sugar. We didn't know that back then. Nobody knew that back then. Well, at least none of us po folk did. We ate a lot of rice, we ate a lot of potatoes, and we ate a lot of bread. And you could get bread like the 2-day-old bread at the store for a nickel or a quarter or something, you know. Get it for real cheap. But Kool-Aid was like, you know, Mom couldn't get us to drink water, because water, especially out of our old pipes, was nasty. And the next door neighbor, she had good water. I remember, if my sister's watching, Felicia, if you're watching, remember, Mrs. Roberts had the best water. She just did. She had the best water. Our old pipes gave out water that tasted like lead. But Kool-Aid, man, you could get me to slam that stuff down, and I would drink a whole pitcher by myself in a middle of an afternoon easily. But one day I decided to make it myself for the first time, and I made it with 2 cups of sugar, like the recipe calls for. And I don't know, I think that was a real zinger, man. I don't know if I went to bed that night. And my mom about blew a gasket, because while Kool-Aid was cheap, sugar was not. And she didn't like the idea of us having so much sugar in the first place, but sugar wasn't cheap, so. Well, you know, Kool-Aid by its nature is sugar-free, except for whatever fillers or, you know, starches they put in it now. But you could, you know, I think that the sugar-free brand Kool-Aid, you know, that stuff has like artificial sweeteners in it that are not good. They don't use good sweeteners in it. And, you know, you can very easily make your own with using extracts, or, you know, like I use True Lemon and True Orange. They're crystallized orange and lemon extracts, and I use those in my baking. I use them in my cooking, and I use them in my drinks. It's, you know, you can use a few drops of stevia and some lemon extract and have yourself some lemonade. Pretty easy. Sugar-free stuff is worse than actual sugar. You know, in terms of insulin resistance, it's maybe not quite as bad, but I mean, if all you're trying to do is reverse your diabetes and not worry about the rest of your health, then you still might reverse your diabetes with sugar-free products, but you may end up with something, you know, that down the line that might be just as bad, autoimmune symptoms or something like that. I don't want to have any of those things, so I avoid things like aspartame, and I avoid sucralose as much as I can anyway. Stevia is what I use, yeah. Stevia and erythritol are the 2 things that I keep on hand at all times. My wife likes to use Splenda, but I like to point out that Splenda is mostly sugar, because the first 2 ingredients are dextrose and maltodextrin, which are just sugar, have a higher glycemic index than table sugar. And then there's sucralose, which is a sugar alcohol, which may not be entirely evil, but I don't feel that it's super good for gut bacteria. And having lost my appendix, which is like your immune system hub of your gut bacteria, having lost my appendix, I sort of cherish my gut bacteria. So I avoid like maltitol or things that create a lot of gastric response. Now, I did see a really cool video on the Keto Connect channel, which if you guys are on YouTube, you guys are, then you'll see that there is a channel called Keto Connect, all one word, and they have a video on sweeteners. They did a battery of tests with a ketone and blood sugar meter, test their blood glucose and their ketone response to individual sugars or sweeteners and their gastric reactions to them and what they taste like. So I think that's maybe the best that we could have gotten for a test. I think it's a great video to watch and just see what their responses are to these different kinds of sweeteners and what they think about the different sweeteners. So it's a great video on that subject. Sugar, oh honey, you're my candy girl. Yes. Screen grabber, hello guy with bald head, don't know what to call you. You can call me Brother Bryce, or Bro Bryce, or BroBryceHealth, or you can call me Bryce. It's fine. And yeah, and I shaved my head recently. I actually got it shaved at the salon, and then I just decided to keep shaving it. So I've been hitting it with a blade for the last few days, the last week or so. And I like it this way. It's comfortable. It's convenient. I just get up in the morning. I just shave it a little more in the shower. It's good. I've been called worse than guy with bald head. That's fine. Anyway, we are looking at quarter of the hour, so let's give away a book. Anybody who's in here currently is eligible, unless you're out there, Jenna. I restricted to the last 4 weeks, so if you've won something in the last 4 weeks, then you're out of the running. But everybody who is currently in the chat right now is up for it. So any of you, the New Atkins for New You and New Atkins for New You workbook, you have the hardcover or the paperback of Wheat Belly by William Davis. And William Davis tells you all about why you should not eat any kind of grains. The workbook here is for people who already have the New Atkins for New You book. If you do, then this book might help you to journal your progress, how you feel about the foods that you're eating. And then the actual diet book, A New Atkins for New You. I will send this to you free of charge if you just say that you're interested in the book. Give me the details and I will send you one book. And then you'll be out of the running for the next 4 weeks for winning a book, if you're interested. Hey, thank you for subscribing, Screen Grabber, or Green Grabber. Green Grabber. Leo, PGG. Right on. You're interested in a book? Which book would you like? You can have the New Atkins for New You. You can have the workbook that goes with it if you already have a copy of the diet book. And then you can have either the Wheat Belly hardcover or the paperback. Nice. I love that I can scroll right here in XSplit on the chat and see. Well, they're free of charge. I'll mail it to you if you're in the U.S. If you're in another country, you can also win it, but you have to come here to get it. Because I'm not going to mail it to anybody outside of the country. But if you're here in the U.S., I will mail it to you free of charge. All you got to do is private message me your credentials, which book that you want. Just have to make sure that I know which book that you want and where to send it. If you're not in the U.S., yeah, I'm afraid you're going to have to come to me to get the book. Vengeance, I'm sorry that your head hurts. I know I had a splitting migraine earlier, and I had to go to the eye doctor. And I'm sorry. Well, you're welcome to come visit me sometime, and I'll give you a free book. Anyway, all these books are thrift store finds. If anybody is interested, just so you know that they are used books, and I do kind of go through them to see if they're in good shape or not. But if you're interested in a book, let me know. Yeah. Are they in shops as well? Yeah, all these books are available on Amazon. The New Atkins for New You is available on Amazon. They should be available at any Barnes & Noble. They should be available in the bookstore too. Any bookstore should have these. I found all of these at thrift stores. So they're, all these books are like $4 or less that I spent on them. And then when I mail them out, I mail them out media mail, but there's no Media Mail International. I used to work for the post office, but can I get them in Amazon from UK? Probably. I'm not sure how the online bookstores work. Questionable joke, Jackson? You're talking about the sugar, the Archies? Anyway, you guys, I've been watching a lot of streams with Dr. Ken Berry. He seems to be pretty receptive to people live streaming with him, so I would love to jury rig up some way to capture that audio. I used to have an old setup where I could Skype people and do a live stream and capture the chat and do call-ins as well over the phone. And I would love to get something like that set up here in the next week. I have some extra days off, and seems for at least some of that part of that time I'm going to be by myself. So I might be hooking up wires here in the studio and running cables and trying to get something really quality set up so you guys can have some music to listen to for the bumpers, for the in and out, and then also so that I can do call-ins with Skype callers. I used to do on the MindPower channel on YouTube, on MindPower 009 on YouTube. If you look up some of the old videos, you might find some old shows that I did live. I used to do them on Ustream as well, some live Ustream shows where I would do call-ins and I would answer questions and stuff. And we would talk about like online marketing or entrepreneurship or video production and technical stuff like that. So yeah, Leo. No. Nope. Callum has no nose. Boy, I sure wish I had a moderator over there on Twitch. Let's see. What can we do here? Probably nothing. There we go. Little something, something for you. There we go. Anyway, guys, yeah, keep it clean. Keep it classy. And thank you for Vengeance keeping things going cool over there. Oh, well, you too. See you later. Just keep it classy, guys. That's all I ask. I don't have a whole lot of rules. You guys can have as much fun as you want. Just keep it classy. And one of these days I'll have a moderator over there on the Twitch side. I guess me saying I don't have a moderator over there is inviting somebody for the next, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something that we're doing a show. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions about, what are we doing here? If you have any questions about ketogenic nutrition for the next 5 minutes, just keep it going. Don Quishon song. Not sure which one you're talking about. May PM that to me on Facebook. By the way, you guys, if you want to add me on Facebook, I am BroBryce on Facebook, all one word, BroBryce. Just add me on Facebook. I tend to be receptive to everybody. If I add you as an acquaintance, don't be offended or something. But I do tend to answer private messages pretty quickly. And be sure to join the BroBryceHealth.info Facebook group. Check that out. BroBryceHealth.info will take you straight to the BroBryce Health group on Facebook, where we talk about all this stuff on the regular. Maybe you can PM it to me, Jackson. The brain is turned off. This headache is killing me. Hey, Vengeance, I want to thank you again for coming. If you are needing to shut down, you feel free, and that's fine. I can attempt to take it from here. And I appreciate you coming in and taking care of business as much as you do. Not sure what was going on with Leo there, or if that was just a clone or what's going on. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming in, and be sure to check out the brobrycehealth.com website. As I get more time, I'm going to try to add some blogs in there, some posts, and talk about some things on my mind. I've had a lot of new ammunition lately, and I think as I get over these antibiotics, I'm going to have a little more energy to go off of, and I'd like to try to do some posts on the brobrycehealth.com blog site, which we just got back up and running. It went down for a little bit due to a flub on the part of my hosting service, and if they do that again, by the way, I'll probably be splitting ways with them. Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. Maybe you did, and that's cool. I appreciate you taking the time. It's the BroBryceHealth.info group. If you guys have not joined, please join. That's where we post a lot of stuff. I like to think of it as a group where people can be accountable to each other. We can check in with each other. And if you guys are having a weight loss journey or a health journey, I'd love it if you guys would share your progress, pictures, or any information that you have, any blog posts or anything. I love to debate openly, but I also try to keep it classy, keep it friendly. And if you decide that you want to join us over there on the Facebook or on the Twitch or on the subscribe on the YouTube, that'd be great. And that way, if you guys see something new, add some notifications onto that Facebook group too, so that when I'm posting things. And if you add me as a friend, you can set up the brobrycehealth.info so that it only gives you notifications when friends post in there. That's a useful tool that Facebook has given us. So sometimes the feed can get filled up with stuff, and I like to get notifications when my friends post in groups. Anyway, we are coming close to the last 2 minutes. Anybody have any last minute questions for a keto guru like myself? Now I think I can authoritatively say that I'm kind of a keto guru, because I mean, I lost 117 pounds, right? I can't be that much of a flop, right? I have improved my conditions of chronic pain and inflammation. I have lowered my triglycerides. I have raised my HDL. I have succeeded in in retiring my canes for walking and my night splints for my sleeping. And I managed to not suffer from chronic migraines all the time. I remember having a migraine for a year, and I can't believe that I can say that, but like at a certain point, you become not numb to it, because you're always acutely aware of a migraine being in your skull. But, you know, a person like me who takes almost no medication anymore, coming from a time when I used to take Vicodin every day, all day, take valerian root all day, every day. Now I just, you know, supplement my electrolytes a little bit, and I'm mostly good. I eat a lot of fat, and I eat a considerable amount of protein. I try to keep it moderate when I'm not very super active. Thank you for the heart's vengeance. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate you moderating. So as we close up, it is 5 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. I want to give a special thanks to Jackson's45. I want to give a special thanks to Todd and the Green Grabber, and even Leo the Troll, and Callum King, and Callum Has No Nose. All these trolls. Thank you for making the stream a lively place, and thank you, Vengeance, for eliminating the trolls from the stream when appropriate. I appreciate your self-restraint and your dedication to coming back on a weekly basis, and I realize you don't have to do this, and I love you for it. So many hearts right back at you. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on the BroBryceHealth live Saturday Keto Chat. I am out of here.